most painful thing in life is not hunger, not poverty, not even death. It is the feeling that nobody cares whether you exist or not. Every day, you pass by people who are secretly breaking inside, people who still try to go to work every day, even though their life just lost what mattered most. People who stay silent, not because they are cold, but because they are simply too tired to explain their pain. And in a world that is always rushing, always competing, always judging each other by money, status, and success, there once existed a person who spent her entire life to prove that the world changes, not when someone becomes powerful, but when someone chooses to care. This is a series about the greatest figures, worth learning from and following. And today, let's look back at the life of Mother Teresa, one of the most beautiful hearts in human history. Mother Teresa's birth name was Agnes Gongsa Bajaxiou. She was born on August 26, 1910, in Skopje, now part of North Macedonia. Her family was not wealthy, but they had something much more precious. That was compassion. Teresa's mother often gave food to the poor, invited homeless people into their home, and taught her children one rule: never eat alone. When there are still hungry people out there, perhaps from those simple meals, a seed of love began to grow in the soul of little Teresa. From a young age, she loved to pray, and was always driven by a strange feeling that her life must be dedicated to something greater than herself. While many young people dreamed of money, fame, or a stable life, Teresa dreamed of helping those who suffered the most. But it takes an extraordinary amount of pain for a seed to break open. At the age of 18, she made a choice that most people could never make. She left her family. That was the last time she saw her biological mother and sister. Just try to imagine that. 18 years old, leaving her homeland, leaving behind everyone she loved most, to step into the absolute unknown, simply because she believed it was the right thing to do. She joined the Sisters of Loreto, a religious order dedicated to education. After that, she was sent to India, and it was here that her life changed forever. In Kolkata, then known as Calcutta, Mother Teresa worked as a teacher in a Catholic school. She taught geography. She was dedicated, strict, and beloved by her students. If she wanted to, she could have lived a peaceful life in the convent, safe, stable, protected, without having to face the suffering out there. But then one day, everything changed. Outside those school gates was a different world, a world of horrifying despair. Some people died on the streets of Calcutta, while thousands walked past them every day, not because people were evil, but because suffering had become normal. She saw children with no food. She saw sick people rotting on the side of the street, people abandoned by society, as if they had never existed. And what broke her heart the most wasn't just the poverty. It was the feeling that no one cared about them anymore. Do you know what the most terrifying thing for a human being is? It's not hunger. It's not disease. It is the feeling that you are no longer of any value, that if you disappeared from this world, no one would even notice. Mother Teresa saw that in the eyes of the dying people on the streets, and her heart could not look away. In 1946, on a train ride to Darjeeling, she experienced what she later called the call within the call, an intense inner urging, asking her to leave her safe, comfortable life, to live among the poorest of the poor, not to help them from afar, but to live with them, to touch their pain, to share her life with them. It was an incredibly difficult decision, because it meant she had to surrender everything, to step into neighborhoods filled with disease, poverty, and death. But she still chose to go, because sometimes the rightest thing to do in life is also the hardest. She began to study basic nursing, then stepped into the slums of Calcutta, with only a few simple clothes, a cheap pair of sandals, and a heart willing to break. No money, no power, no large organization backing her. only compassion. But sometimes, the thing that changes the world the most is exactly that. In 1950, she founded the organization, Missionaries of Charity. Their mission was simple but brutal: to care for those nobody else wanted. The dying, the lepers, the orphans, the outcasts. Every day, she walked through the most agonizing corners of the city. Sometimes she picked up people whose bodies were already covered in insects, people others were too afraid to touch. Many died only hours after arriving. But for the first time in years, they did not die alone. But do not mistake her for a perfect, untouchable saint. Her struggle was profoundly human. For years, she felt completely alone. She was exhausted. She faced relentless doubt. Every single day, she was surrounded by the stench of death and the crushing weight of human agony. There were moments when she felt spiritually abandoned, but she kept going. She kept washing the wounds of the dying. She kept holding the hands of strangers as they took their last breath. Once, someone asked her, "Why do you do this?" She answered, "Because every human being deserves to be loved." Sounds simple, but in reality, it is the hardest thing in the world. Because humans usually only love what is beautiful, love the successful, love those who are valuable to them. But Mother Teresa chose to love even the people society refused to look at. That is true compassion. The greatness of Mother Teresa did not lie in massive things. She didn't invent technology. She didn't lead an army. She didn't build an empire. But she did something even harder. She made the most forgotten souls on earth feel that they were still worthy of love. And sometimes, a little bit of love can save a life from despair. She famously said, "Not all of us can do great things, but we can all do small things with great love." That was exactly her philosophy of life. You don't need to become famous to make the world a better place. Some people save lives with money. She saved lives with presence. Sometimes the only thing separating someone from despair is knowing that another human being still cares. What saves someone from the edge is simply a timely word of encouragement, a hug, a meal, one moment of truly listening, an act of kindness. When they are at their absolute lowest. There was something very special about Mother Teresa. She didn't try to change the whole world all at once. She just focused on the person right in front of her. When she saw someone suffering, she helped them. When she saw someone hungry, she fed them. When she saw someone about to die alone, she sat beside them. That's why she once said, "If you can't feed 100 people, then feed just one." Many people want to save the world, but they forget to be kind to the people next to them. It is easy to talk about love, much harder to practice it with the people closest to us. Mother Teresa was different. She turned compassion into action every day, not just once, but for her entire life. In 1979, Mother Teresa was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. The whole world bowed to her. But the amazing thing was, she still lived as simply as before. No luxury, no considering herself a great person. She still wore the familiar white sari with a blue border, still lived humbly, still continued to scrub the floors of the dying. Because to her, the greatest prize wasn't a medal. It was a human being feeling loved before leaving this world. Most people want to be remembered. Mother Teresa wanted people to feel loved. On September 5th, 1997, Mother Teresa passed away. The whole world mourned. But the legacy she left behind didn't lie in statues or speeches. It lay in millions of people who learned how to love each other more, thanks to her life. In 2016, the Catholic Church canonized her with the title Saint Teresa of Calcutta. But truly, to so many people, she had already been a saint long before that. Mother Teresa's life is proof that true greatness doesn't come from fame, comes from persistent love. In an increasingly cold world, what humanity lacks the most is perhaps not technology. It is compassion. People now can send messages across the planet in seconds. Yet millions still cry alone in their rooms at night, increasingly quick to judge, increasingly hard to sympathize. And that is why Mother Teresa's story still holds meaning today, because she reminds us that every person you meet is carrying some kind of hidden pain. So be kind, even when you get nothing in return. Be kind, even when no one is watching. Be kind, not because others deserve it, but because it is what makes you truly human. At the end of life, people rarely remember how much money they made, but they never forget who made them feel loved when they were hardest to love. Perhaps the greatest tragedy in life is not dying, but going through life without making another human being feel seen.